Yes, hello, welcome back to the Rugby League Forecast podcast. My name is Connor Moran, and today I will be reviewing the New Zealand Warriors for their 2025 season. They finished in sixth position. They were knocked out in week one of the finals in New Zealand to the Penrith Panthers, who finished seventh. Uh, what was really impressive about the Warriors in season 2025, they ran second in terms of their completion rate. So they knew how to complete sets, and I thought it was a terrific season for them. After Vegas in round one, they got absolutely belted by the Canberra Raiders. Physically, mentally, absolutely belted. Canberra just turned up to Vegas and they won, and they won quite easily too. And there were huge concerns after that game. I remember thinking, shit, the Warriors could get the wooden spoon after that game. And I know it's only round one, it's a long season, but I was really concerned about their halves. Luke Metcalf, he played a little bit in the NRL at Cronulla and the Warriors alongside Sean Johnson, but he wasn't proven in the number 7 jersey. And if we remember back at the trials, the preseason challenge of 2025, there was a game in New Zealand where Luke Metcalf wore the number 7 and tore shreds off the opposition. He was incredible. His kicking game was outstanding. And they gave me a little bit of hope that, we questioned the halves and their kicking game, and there was a lot of question marks whether Tanner Boyd would start 7, would Luke Metcalf play 6, or T. Murray Martin, or Harris Tavita. Would Harris Tavita play 6 or whatnot? So the halves for round one against Vegas was Harris Tavita, Chanel Harris Tavita at 6, and 7 Luke Metcalf. And I remember seeing that lineup thinking, all right, I am a little bit concerned of the kicking game, the long kicking game from both halves. They hadn't played together in the halves before. And I thought they were really poor in Vegas as a halves combination. Yes, it's only round one. It was the first time they played together in an NRL first grade match. But there were a lot of question marks going into 2025. And I think the Warriors proved everyone wrong. Going into 2025, there was huge questions about, there was the retirement of Sean Johnson, who was going to fill in his shoes, the sudden retirement of Tohu Harris a few weeks before the season kicked off. Adam Fanua-Blake had just left to the Cronulla Sharks. And as I mentioned earlier, Luke Metcalf, he wasn't proven in the NRL yet. He'd played a few games, but he wasn't proven as the number 7. And there was a lot of pressure on the kid. He's been around for a little while, but he's about 26, 27 years old now. He's just suffered through ACL injuries, just had so many poor injuries in his career. I feel really sorry for him. And once again, we know what happened in 2025, him going down with an ACL injury, and his season was gone. I thought Dylan Walker was a huge loss for the Warriors as well. When he left after a few rounds to go to Parramatta, I just thought that he was a massive loss. I thought Aaron Clark was outstanding for them. He was probably the buy of the year from any side, apart from Terrell May at the Tigers. Aaron Clark, wearing that 13 jersey, was outstanding. In my opinion, he was as good as Luke Metcalf at the Warriors, but won't get the raps. He just did the dirty work. He just tackling machine. The way he can offload the football and change momentum in a heartbeat. He was absolutely incredible. What I found really interesting going through the 2025 season for the Warriors is before Luke Metcalf got injured in round 17, the Warriors had only lost 4 games. And one of them was in round one, as I mentioned before, against the Canberra Raiders. And those 4 losses were the Raiders twice, the Panthers once, and Melbourne. So, pretty incredible statistic. Before round 17, they lost 4 games, and twice against the minor premiers, Panthers, the 4-time premiers in a row, and then Melbourne, who were in the grand final last year and again this year. So, my opinion is this is really deep diving into the season, and I'm pretty confident in my opinion, and a lot of you might disagree here, but if Luke Metcalf doesn't get injured, in my opinion, the Warriors make the top 4 and the Broncos finish 5th, and the Broncos don't win the comp. So that's how significant the injury was, not just to the Warriors, but to the whole competition. It changed everything. It really did. Luke Metcalf was a huge loss, but I also want to touch on Mitch Barnett. What a massive loss he was. I think he got injured against the South Sydney Rabbitohs at a core stadium halfway through the season, and that was just before Origin 2. I thought he was phenomenal in Origin 1, Mitch Barnett, and one of the main reasons why New South Wales won and won well in Origin 1. But you really missed his presence in Origin 2 and Origin 3. And, I just think Mitch Barnett, his experience, his leadership, massive loss for the remainder of the season after his injury. And what 2025 taught me as a rugby league fan for the Warriors was that Andrew Webster gets the absolute best from his players. He's a terrific coach, and he had an amazing rookie year of his NRL coaching in 2023 when he went to the Warriors. But in 2024, it was pretty disappointing, I reckon, considering the expectations. Considering how well they had gone and how consistent that they were in 2023. The Warriors have always been known as this inconsistent team, but I feel that Andrew Webster hasn't just got the best out of his players since he's come to the club. He's gotten the best out of the club. So he's reconnected the community. He's reconnected the Warriors fans with the team, and that's shown by the sellout crowds, the consistent sellout crowds at Mount Smart Stadium, where for many, many years you'd get big crowds there, but they were never sellouts. And now people are struggling to get tickets every home game. And I think Andrew Webster has a huge, he's had a huge contribution to not just the side on paper and the team he's coaching, but the club in general. I think he's a really underrated coach. To get to the Warriors, who are known as a very inconsistent side in the past, to 2 final series of the last 3, including a prelim final in 2023, is fucking outstanding, to be honest. It really is. If you look at those stats, you saw what he achieved at the Warriors the last 3 years, but then you see what he achieved as an assistant coach at Penrith for a few years. Fucking unbelievable coach. Really good coach. And for example, with Andrew Webster and him getting the best out of players, Mitch Barnett, if we remember Mitch Barnett, he was at Newcastle, good player. He was traditionally a second rower at Newcastle. He was a good player, but fuck, his discipline was awful. He'd be sin-binned a bit. He'd get sent off. He'd be giving stupid penalties away. He was impatient as a player, and he wasn't a leader. If someone told me back in 2020, 2021 that Mitch Barnett would one day be a captain of a side and play State of Origin and be one of the key members and one of the most important players for New South Wales, I'd be fucking laughing. Since he's come to the Warriors, Andrew Webster has turned him into a captain, into a leader, into a player that players want to play for and play with. And he's turned Mitch Barnett into an Origin player, representative player. And a leader, and that's an example of what Andrew Webster is doing at the Warriors. He's turning players into fucking leaders and players that want to play with, people want to play with. Look at, for example, he's getting the best out of young players too. Laka Halasima, for me, he was the best story of 2025 for the Wars. He was unbelievable. This kid. What is he, 19, 20 years old? The way he can move, fucking unbelievable. That try against the Tigers in Campbelltown back in round 4 or 5 of the season, and then that try against the Knights to win the game on the final play. People can't play like that. He can. But how is Leka Halasima playing like that? Well, I reckon it's because of Andrew Webster. I genuinely do. And I don't buy the bullshit too when coaches say, oh, look, he's not ready. He's only 18, 19 years old. Well, fuck, Freddie Fittler got chucked into first grade when he was 18. He was ready. And sometimes I agree with that statement. You know what? I may have just contradicted myself there, but sometimes kids aren't ready. Sometimes kids are not ready. But I reckon there would be a lot of coaches in there that would look at Leka Halasima and say, mate, you might need another couple of years in reserve grade, New South Wales Cup, to fill out, build your body up a little bit, learn your game. But Andrew Webster goes, you know what? Maybe putting him in first grade might get the best out of him, and to recognise that as a head coach, to recognise that your player is ready. I reckon is a rare talent because the amount of times we're seeing the NRL coaches sacked because they rush players or I mean, for example, right? Just because you're 18 or 19 years old doesn't necessarily mean you're not ready for first grade. Only the coach and a bloody good coach would understand and know that. Um, so I think, I think I saw a statement last year from Phil Guild saying people need to stop rushing all these players into the first grade. Well, I think it depends on the player. I really do. Uh, you know, are they ready? Well, that's up to them, isn't it? Doesn't that come down to maturity and coaching and the club they're at? Well, that's what Andrew Webster's doing with Leka Halasima. He's just gone, you know what, mate, you've got talent. You've got all the talent in the world, but Andrew Webster's probably seen more in Leka Halasima. He's probably gone, you know what, I reckon you've trained the fucking house down to the point where you've earned a spot. And you look at Andrew Webster too. You look at Jet Cleary at the Warriors. He could have easily have made his debut last year, but he said, no, 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 you're not ready yet. You're not ready yet. So he recognizes when players are ready and when they're not ready. And I reckon a lot of coaches in the NRL these days think he's 18, 19, and just because of his age, they write them off and go, no, we'll wait another couple of years. Well, no, I think the good coaches recognise when they're 18 and 19 and realise they're ready to fucking play. And I will say there was another shining light. Obviously, Aaron Clark, who I touched on earlier for the Warriors, was fucking outstanding. He was so good to fill in the shoes of not just Tohu Harris at lock forward, and then Dylan Walker was playing a bit of lock forward at the start of the year before he went off to Parramatta. But to fill in the shoes of those two influential players at the Warriors, and fucking hell, Dylan Walker was an influential player. He'd come on from the bench or he'd start at lock, and the way in which he could take pressure off the halves, fucking outstanding ability to do that. But for Aaron Clark to come in, fill in those shoes and do what he did so consistently for the Warriors, an absolute fucking workhorse with skill, unbelievable effort from Aaron Clark. I reckon I would go as far as to say he's one of the best buys the Warriors have ever had. And if we rewind back to the New Zealand Warriors at the 2017 season, right? It didn't click for them. For me, I thought going into that 2017 season 9 years ago now, fucking hell, that feels like 2017 for me feels like only a few years ago. Now I think, shit, it was 9 years ago. 9 years ago, they, you know, they bought players such as Kieran Foran, 2017 season from Parramatta. Foran, obviously, we all know the story. He left the game and came back and wanted to spend 1 year in New Zealand to resurrect his NRL career. And they bought Isaac Luke from the South Sydney Rabbitohs. So this was their spine going into 2017. Number 1, Roger Tuivasa-Sheck. Number 6, Kieran Foran. Number 7, Shaun Johnson. Number 9, Isaac Luke. You look at the buys and the spine and the recruitment in that 2017 season, fucking outstanding. For me, I genuinely thought the Warriors were going to win their first premiership going into that season, looking at that spine and other players that were in that side. Absolutely outstanding. But this year, I genuinely believe that a player like Aaron Clark was a better buy than all of those players combined. I really do. Like he was, in my opinion, he is in the top 3 best buys the Warriors have ever had since they came into the competition in 1995. That's how fucking good Aaron Clark was. He was outstanding. He's got so much skill. He can play lock forward. He can play dummy half too. He actually played a lot of the number 9 jersey for the Gold Coast Titans over the years too, when there were significant injuries. And they were able to move Aaron Clark in the number 9 jersey, and he did a fucking good job in that hooker position as well. But another shining light, Sam Healey. Now, I first saw him, I think they had a trial game against the Sharks at the beginning of the year. I'm pretty sure it was against Cronulla. And he looks like a future star, Sam Healey. I love the way he plays. He just looks sharp. His service from dummy half is fucking outstanding. Like, I don't think I've seen a better passer from dummy half since Cameron Smith. I genuinely believe it. His service from dummy half, Sam Healy, is so fucking good. Like every pass is straight to the chest, even when players are running onto the ball. I think this kid is unbelievable. And I think if he lives up to his potential, he'll be one of the best nines going around in 3 to 4 years' time. I really believe that. Jet Cleary has recently been updated to a development contract in the NRL squad. So I'm interested to see. Surely they play him in the halves in the trial games because he was the first half of last year in reserve grade. Jet Cleary was doing all right. Second half of the year, fucking outstanding. Absolutely outstanding. I thought Tanner Boyd did a decent job after Luke Metcalf was injured. I really do. And if you told me at the start of the year who's got the better kicking game, I would have said Tanner Boyd, 100%. Got a better, probably a better goal kicker, to be honest. He's a fucking outstanding goal kicker, and so is Luke Metcalf. But his short kicking game, his long kicking game, Tanner Boyd, when I think of Tanner Boyd, I think of fucking really good kicker. But I feel that when he came in to replace Luke Metcalf, their kicking game wasn't the same. And that goes to show what a loss and a significant loss Luke Metcalf was to the Warriors. I genuinely believe if Luke Metcalf doesn't get injured, the Warriors finish fourth, they make the top four, and the Broncos finish fifth, and they don't get to the grand final. I genuinely fucking believe that. I just think, I mean, you look at, and recent history of the last 30 years, I don't think any side since 1995, perhaps, so the Bulldogs may have finished sixth or seventh that year. I don't think any side from 96 onwards that hasn't made the top four has won the comp. So history suggests that the Broncos probably wouldn't have made the four. I reckon the Warriors probably win another 2 or 3 games if Luke Metcalf stays in that side, based on the stats I suggested earlier of only losing 4 games heading into round 17. So, like, that's fucking outstanding for the Warriors. I don't think they have seen that consistency since 2002. Like, even 2011, they made the grand final, but I think they finished 6th or 7th that year. They were still a pretty inconsistent side in 2011, even though they made the grand final. But 2002, I don't think we've seen the Warriors be as consistent as that year. Since 2002, that they just knew what they were doing. They had a plan, they had a structure. You could tell the players understood what Andrew Webster was telling them, and I feel like they had that rare ability to adapt from a game plan A to a game plan B to a game plan C when the game wasn't working for them. And for me personally, the best win for the Warriors this year is when they had many players out, and they were up against pretty well a full-strength Cronulla side at Shark Park. I think it was back in round 14, and they ended up belting Cronulla at Shark Park in front of a pretty decent crowd as well. And they were heavy outsiders to win that game. No one really gave them a chance, and they turned up and they were consistent. And the next man up mentality, they did a fucking job. They really did. And I thought the Warriors had a really good 2025 season. They finished in 6th position, as I mentioned earlier. And going to be really interesting to see how they go in 2026. I mean, they're one of those sides like Manly. They really are, the Warriors, where there's a well where they can make the top 4, but then there's also a well where they can make the bottom 4. And I think it really depends on injuries, and probably positional changes as well, to the choices in which Andrew Webster makes for players to play in certain positions. I mean, does Shans Nickel-Klokstad start again at fullback, or do they move Roger there, getting more involved from the wing to fullback? Does Shans move to centre? Luke Metcalf, he's in doubt for the first few rounds. So who goes halfback? Do they, what do they do with Temare Martin? There's a lot of question marks over certain abilities. Don't get me wrong, James Fisher-Harris was a really good buy for them. But I just thought Aaron Clark he just fucking proved to everyone that he's here to play for the Warriors and fucking win a premiership with them. Like, that guy wears his heart on his sleeve. And so did Fisher-Harris. He was outstanding. But I thought Fisher-Harris probably brought more leadership and experience to the club, and much needed leadership. And I've got no doubt that one of the reasons why they were becoming a consistent side was because of what James Fisher-Harris was bringing to the club from the Penrith Panthers. Just that professionalism, that understanding of culture, understanding of what he needed to do to get the best out of the players around him. So that's the Warriors 2025 season review. I hope they make the 8 in 2026. I'd love to see them win a comp from my mate Josh Russo. If you listen to this, Josh, I want the Warriors to win a comp and win one in the next fucking few years for you, mate, because that'd be amazing for you. Yeah, I think the Warriors haven't won a premiership since they've entered the competition in 1995. I'm just thinking about Josh partying after that, after the Warriors first win a premiership, because I went to Origin 2 with him in Perth in 2019 and was at 2026 now. And New South Wales smashed Queensland in Perth. And I reckon Josh is still at the casino, and it's 7 years later. I think he's still partying from that win. So, no, he knows how to party. Fucking hell, he's a good time. But imagine Josh winning the, fucking celebrating after the Warriors won a comp. Mate, I'd need some video footage from Maddie there. I'd be messaging Maddie, mate. Have you got the camera? Have you got the camera? Have you got the videos? Have you got the photos, mate? It'd be some classic footage of Josh. He'd be loving it. Anyway, that is the New Zealand Warriors 2025 review. Thank you very much. If you haven't done so already, please follow on Spotify and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Cheers.